Fallout Equestria Survivors Guild, Chapter 13, Part 2. The next day passed without incident for the most part. We talked with the others and got to know them a bit better, and I smiled when Sparky actually sang for us for a little while. Her voice was just so soft and soothing, and it reminded me a lot of Sweetie Belle's. I could see a lot of Sweetie in her, really. I mean, she was smart, resourceful, and above all, kind. She may have been surprised by the arrival of myself and the others, but she adapted quickly to it, and had been hanging out with Serenity more, and the two really hit it off. I smiled as I watched Sparky try to figure out how to use the scooter I'd brought with me from Crystal City. Mostly, it just resulted in her falling over, but she was trying her best at least.
Hey, what's that?
Ark asked sometime in the early evening as we were getting ready to make dinner. We all turned to see a shape approaching, and it took a moment to realize that it was a Pegasus pony that looked like they had been flying for days. They crashed into the ground not far from where we were standing.
Sparky, get a medkit!
Applebloom said as we got up and rushed to the Pegasus. He was dressed in security barding and had several energy burns on his body.
These are magical energy weapon wounds,
Sparky said as she examined the wounds and took out healing potions.
Who did this?
The Enclave, the Pegasus said weakly. They attacked.
Wait, where did they attack? What happened?
I said as the stallion struggled to get the words out again. Manhattan. Tell the NCR, he managed to say before falling unconscious, and the silence fell over the group, and the Enclave. They attacked Manhattan. It was then that our pitbox started to crackle with static, followed by the now familiar sound of music that accompanied Enclave broadcasts.
Hello, Equestria. This is your president speaking to you from Ten Pony Tower in the ruins of Manhattan.
Winterbreeze's voice sounded over the radio after a minute.
The tower, and the entire city of Manhattan, is now under the control of the Grand Pegasus Enclave.
Oh, horseapples.
Now, I'm sure you're all wondering what has happened to DJ Pone 3, the stallions whose voice had broadcast over the wasteland for the past 211 years.
Winterbreeze continued.
I can assure you that the good DJ is still alive and well in our custody, but I think it's time we break the charade that they have been playing for the past 2 centuries. What does she mean?
Serenity asked, and she was afraid. And so was I. I knew exactly what she meant.
It'll be okay, Serenity. It'll be okay,
Vanilla said reassuringly as she hugged the filly gently.
I promise. Everything will be okay.
I hoped that she'd be able to keep that promise.
You see, my dear Equestria, the pony that is willing to, in his words, tell the truth no matter how hard it hurts, has been lying to you this whole time.
Winterbreeze continued. I really wish that she wouldn't do this.
DJ Pone 3 is a lie, Equestria. He has been lying to you since he first started broadcasting. The pony you've known as DJ Pone 3 for the past few years is a zebra by the name of Zariah, and before that it was the unicorn Homage, ironically the elements of honesty.
Yep. She went there. Though I had to wonder how she knew that Homage had been DJ Pone 3 before Zariah, and I didn't like it.
The Enclave will not stand for such deceptions in the future of Equestria. We will continue to fight for you, Equestria, for the future of our world. This is President Winterbreeze, signing off.
As the radio played the music again and went silent, we all just sat there in shock. Unsure of what to say, or to do. Anything. Level up. Perk received. Ante up. Details. You've become more skilled at games of chance and avoiding enemies. You gain an extra point in your luck stat. Chapter 14. Devil You Know. The farther backward you can look, the farther forward you will see. Winston Churchill.
What's going on? Why did the Enclave take over Manhattan?
Cherry asked as we all looked between each other, trying to figure out what's going on.
Probably because of DJ Pone 3.
I said with a sigh, and I brushed my mane back.
She has been broadcasting anti-Enclave messages since they first appeared. They're probably trying to silence and discredit the DJ. Which will also be a problem for you, Scootaloo,
Vanilla said as she looked at me.
Ever since the Enclave exposed you to Equestria, she's been trying to get ponies to think about you differently. And not to mention the fact that zebras still ain't exactly welcome in most of Equestria.
Applebloom added.
It's crazy that DJ Pwn3 is a zebra, huh? Yeah, crazy.
I said quietly as I looked off to the side.
That's probably why she didn't tell any pony about it. I just wish that it didn't have to come out like this. I can only imagine what she's going through right now.
I didn't want to tell them that I actually had known the truth this whole time since I had met Zariah back in Manhattan. I had kept her secret because I felt it was the right thing to do, but now I wasn't sure if keeping that secret had put her in more danger than she needed to be in. I had known some nice zebras from during the war that had just wanted to live their lives in Equestria. It's why I did things like in Stable 3. They weren't bad as a species just because the Kaisar had decided to go to war with Equestria for whatever reason he decided to. Honestly, though, now that I think about it, why had he done it? I mean, yes, there was the massacre at Littlehorn, but that had just been the breaking point. Something about all of this was weird. Even after Luna took the throne, something about all of it felt weird, but I didn't really know what it was.
Zariah fought in the war with the Crimson Empire. She helped save the NCR, and not every pony is gonna turn against her.
Vanilla pointed out.
She'll be okay. We'll just have to figure out what the plan is.
Star returned with Jade at that point. The two had left to get word to Nomad City of what was going on.
So, what's the word from the council?
I asked.
Well, we're being called back to the city and we're going back to Junction Town.
Star said with a sigh.
A Vertibuck is coming to pick us up first thing in the morning. The NCR is making the decision on what to do the next day after. You can't stay?
Sparky asked as she looked sad.
Well, we don't really have a choice,
I said.
This changes everything. The Enclave hasn't had a move this bold since the war began. Exactly. They've mostly been limiting it to hit-and-run attacks.
Ark said with a sigh as she drew in the dirt a little.
I'm sorry, Sparky.
I said sadly as I hugged my daughter gently.
We'll be fine. The Enclave will be stopped and everything will be okay.
Sparky smiled and hugged me back before looking at Applebloom.
On Applebloom, I want to go with them. Can I please help them take on the Enclave? Sparky, I'm afraid this isn't the right time to do that.
I said with a sigh.
Sparky, we've got a dangerous mission ahead of us, and we don't even know if we'll be able to do it right now. There's a possibility that the NCR may have to surrender to the Enclave.
Star said.
Even with the allies we have, the Enclave now has access to the Celestial 1 Megaspell.
Oh, crap. That's not what I needed to hear at all. Celestia 1 was the most powerful megaspell Equestria had during the war, and the Enclave now had access to it? I was surprised that they hadn't just wiped the NCR off the map now.
Sparky, I promise. When the time is right, you can come and join us.
I said with a smile.
But, right now, you need to stay here and help your aunt.
Applebloom looked like she was gonna protest, but I shot her a look. I really didn't want to put Sparky at risk in this conflict, especially if we were about to go to Manhattan in order to fight the Enclave. I didn't think that the NCR was really about to surrender. There had to be some sort of backup plan in the event of something like this happening.
Okay. I'll stay here for now,
Sparky said with a nod. That night, me and Sherry were woken up to the sound of small hooves stepping onto the ground outside our tents. After a moment, Serenity poked her head into the tent with a worried look on her face in the glow of our Pipok lights.
Hey, Serenity. Is everything okay?
Cherry asked.
I can't sleep, so I asked Mom if I could come to your tent.
Serenity said softly.
Is that okay? Of course, Serenity. We'd be glad to have you.
I said with a smile as we scooted apart enough to let the filly rest between the two of us.
Thank you.
Serenity said with a smile, and she moved in between the two of us. She looked at us with a smirk.
I didn't interrupt anything, did I? Did Arclight tell you to ask that?
Cherry said, her face turning red again, which just got a giggle out of the filly.
Maybe. Oh, we have ways of making little fillies talk,
I said with a smirk as I started tickling the filly, making her giggle more.
Do you still deny it? Yes! She asked me to! Now stop it!
Serenity protested through the giggles. I had just laughed and stopped.
That wasn't fair! Oh, it was totally fair,
I said with a smile as I nuzzled the filly gently.
You're still worried about the Enclave, huh? Yeah.
Serenity said as I draped my wing over both her and Cherry.
After what happened with the Enclave and the Crystal Empire, I'm just worried about what will happen to the ponies that live there. I understand.
I said with a nod, and I nuzzled her again.
I'm worried about them too, but we'll be able to figure this out. I promise that I'll make sure to help you as best as I can. We both will.
Cherry said with a smile.
Are you too sure you aren't a couple?
Serenity said with a smirk, which made me face off. This filly was really enjoying this, wasn't she?
Okay, how about this? If we become a couple, you'll be the first pony to know.
I said with a chuckle as I ruffled the filly's mane.
Okay, deal.
Serenity said with a smile, and she closed her eyes.
Good night, Scootaloo, Cherry Blossom. Good night, Serenity.
I said, and nuzzled the filly gently as she fell asleep. I turned and looked at Cherry with a nod.
Being a parent isn't an easy job, but I've found that it's one of the most rewarding. Well, I hope so.
Cherry said with a sigh.
I mean, I was always content with sticking to the status quo in Stable 48, but when it was actually my turn, I couldn't let the foal just wind up like her father. Like I said, it changes everything.
I said with a nod and smiled down at the sleeping filly.
For good, and for bad.
Cherry nodded and soon was off to sleep. I stayed up for a little longer thinking about my own daughter. I remembered her first words, her first steps, her first flight. She was the light in the darkness that had been my life after the war started. I took out the picture I had of her and Skywalker and just stared at it in the dim glow of my Pip-Buck's light. I remember the day that we had taken it. It was a few weeks before I had been exiled, and it was one of the few things that I had managed to take with me. I guess the Enclave wanted me to remember what I had lost by turning on them. It had worked, kind of, but at the same time, it reminded me that some things were worth fighting for. Family was the most important thing in the world to me, and I wasn't gonna give that up, just because the Enclave tried to take it away from me. I put the picture carefully away and laid back down. I closed my eyes and was soon asleep as well.